All right, we're here with Indiana State football coach Mike Sanford. ISU travels to Youngstown State on Saturday for a 4 p.m. kickoff over at Stambaugh Stadium. Mike, I feel like I'm going back in time when I watch Youngstown State because they are an old school football team, smash mouth in every conceivable manner, both sides of the ball. Let's talk about their defense first because it's outstanding, obviously, a great front four. Just talk about the challenge that they present this weekend for your offense. They have shut down almost everybody this year.
Yeah, they're an outstanding defense. The strength of their defense is their defensive front, especially their defensive ends. Rivers, the one to our right, and then number 9, the transfer from Nebraska to our left. Those guys are really good players, and we have to bring everything we've got to be able to beat them and move the ball and score points against them. Have a ton of respect for them. In the secondary, it's interesting. They are an old school team in a lot of ways, but they have some very what I would consider cutting edge things that they're doing in the secondary from a coverage standpoint. They do some things that look like one thing, but are actually something else. I don't know if that makes any sense, but they do a really good job. They create some issues in the passing game, and we've got to do a great job against them. And the part of that's interesting is you've got to be able, you can't hold the ball a long time because of their defensive front and their pass rush, and they're able to play those coverages and still stop the run, which means that their front is really good. And so I have a lot of respect for their defense.
Yeah, when they can do stuff, when they can produce such a big pass rush off just their front four, obviously that just has a ripple effect on everything. Their linebackers don't have to; they can stay at home a little bit better. Just talk about the challenge that presents, as you mentioned, for your running game because, their front four is good enough that they don't have to worry about using their line. They can focus their linebackers on the run and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they do a really good job of, and it's going to be a huge challenge. It's a big challenge, I think, up front for our offensive line. We need to have a great game out of our offensive line. The interesting thing is I think our best offensive lineman, Dakota Vermillion, goes against their best defensive end. So it's strength against strength, and Rivers on the right is a really good player. I don't mean to say that he's not, because he's really good.
Offense or defensively for your team, to what degree? I know Youngstown will run the option. I don't think it's exclusively their offense. It's a set that they use. But what percentage are they running option or read option? How much do you have to account for that? As opposed to kind of a drop back type of situation. I know their statistics suggest they obviously run the ball a lot, but how much of that comes out of the option?
Very high percentage. I can't give you a quote of exactly the number, but they do a lot of true zone read where it's just the quarterback, and the quarterback can pull it and go outside. And then they also do some zone read option where they have a pitch man either coming into motion, into phase from one side or the other. And they do a nice job with that. There's a lot of similarities, to the offense. Obviously, I think it's what Coach Pelini wants to do. It's very similar to what they did at Nebraska. They have an element of power football in it. They have an element of just line it up and run the ball, but they also have quite a bit of option football mixed in there, where they try to create situations where they're reading one of your defenders and either handing off or pitching off of him.
You saw a little bit of an option last week at Southern, but you haven't seen much of it this weekend. How do you get the defense prepared for that look when you just haven't had many Valley teams that have run that this year against you?
Well, it's just something we've had to work on in practice. I think, our defense has seen it against our offense some. We don't obviously run it to the extent of what Youngstown State does. But at the same time, we have seen some of it this year, but we've concentrated obviously a lot on it this week.
How are you guys injury-wise? I noticed Bob Pugh is back out there in special teams. It seems like you guys are in decent shape going into the weekend, but you tell me. I mean, how healthy is everybody?
Bob Pugh is back. He was back last week, but he kind of was not at full strength. He's at full strength now. I think it took Phil Wilson a couple of weeks to be at full strength. He's at full strength now. Jordan Jackson, who missed last week with a minor knee injury, is back 100%. Obviously we got some guys banged up. It's that time of the season. But as far as major injuries, I think, other than what happened, spring or early in the year, I think we're actually hanging in there pretty good.
All right, Mike, that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.